coaching search is on in Seattle to replace Pete Carroll. And on this edition of Seahawks Today, we will break down the top 5 players most impacted based on who the next Seattle Seahawks coach is. We'll explain and talk about their futures coming up in just a matter of moments. Let's start with kind of setting the scene for the direction of this franchise, where this team is going forward. We heard from John Schneider say on Tuesday in his news conference that they are very confident in this roster, that this is a young team that is on the cuffs, that they are very close to being a Super Bowl caliber team. And so that tells me that John Schneider is not looking to make a ton of changes to this Seahawks roster, that they believe the foundation is set. So whatever coach is coming in, it's not going to be a rebuild project. It is going to be a retooling project to take that next step up. And we know John Schneider is taking full control, that he has final say, that this is his organization. This is his football team now, and that coach is going to have to get in line with that. So that's an important note to kind of set the scene of sorts for the next 5 players that we're about to talk about in just a moment. If you want the Seahawks to hire the right head coach, like today's video, don't jinx it. This is a very important decision. The most important offseason in the history of the Seattle Seahawks franchise is right here, right now. Do your part. Don't risk it. Don't make me come find you because you didn't like today's video. Hit that like button, and we'll continue here on today's show. We'll start with Tyler Lockett, the Seahawks veteran receiver, who has had a very good career with this franchise and has meant a lot to the fans and this organization for what he's done over the last few years. And Lockett has made it very clear that he wants to retire as a member of the Seattle Seahawks. And here he is in his 30s now. He has also said that he doesn't want to play a long amount of time, that he's saved up a lot of money. He's got a real estate empire and all this. But now as the Seahawks start to think about what's next and where Tyler Lockett belongs in the long-term plans, you have to think about this twofold. Number one, you can't overpay Tyler Lockett. And right now, I could argue that he's not worth the money that he's making. And two, he can't stunt or get in the way of the growth of JSN. JSN's the future. Tyler Lockett is not. And what we saw from Tyler Lockett this past season, it was a solid year, don't get me wrong, but it was the worst season that he's had in quite some time. Receptions were down from a year ago. Yards was down from a year ago. His yards per catch was down. His touchdown numbers were down. It was the first season since 2018 where Tyler Lockett had under 1,000 yards receiving. And it was his lowest touchdown total that he's had since 2017. And as he enters his 10th year in the NFL, we're looking at Tyler Lockett being owed $16+ million next season. If you're the Seahawks, you have to have that discussion. If Tyler Lockett's going to be here, can he take less money? Is there a pay cut involved? Or are we better off trading him and trying to get something for him? That next head coach has a decision to make when it comes to Tyler Lockett's future. So let's ask you, our pinned comment today, should the Seahawks keep Tyler Lockett? I would love to see him stick around personally. I don't know if I love him enough for $16 million right now. What do you guys think? Y for yes, in for no. Way in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Folks, I am a very single bachelor man. And I got to tell you, I don't like to cook for myself. So with Factor Meals, they make things very easy for a guy like me, where I can eat healthy and eat delicious food very fast and easy. Get started with your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-cracked, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Forget frantic lunch preps and rush dinners. Factor's 2-minute meals are your secret weapon in the new year. Fuel up fast with restaurant-quality meals, all delivered right to your door. When things get hectic, Factor is flexible. Change your order up every week with plans from 4 to 18 meals per week, or pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. Head to factormeals.com/SeahawksChat50 and use code SeahawksChat50. Get 50% off. That's code SeahawksChat50 at factormeals.com/SeahawksChat50 to get 50% off. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Factor Meals. Good. All right. Next on the list, Jamal Adams. This one was going to be obvious, right? You guys knew we were going to talk about Jamal in this segment before you even clicked the video. And, I mean, if you recall, back when Pete thought he was coming back and was going to be the Seattle Seahawks head coach, he told us that he expected to bring back Jamal Adams, that Jamal would return to this team in 2024. And that may have been the sign from John Schneider that said, you know what? Maybe it is time to go ahead and move on from Pete if he thinks that Jamal is the right option here, because that better not be the case. Remember what Mike Holmgren told us about a month ago now, former Seahawks head coach? He said, look, sometimes it's a tough call, but you have to count your losses and move on and just kind of eat the money and deal with it. That's what we're looking at for the Seattle Seahawks. Jamal Adams was a liability this season. Not only has he had problems staying healthy, but when he's been on the football field, the dude can't cover a nosebleed, can't do anything right, and is a problem for this Seahawks team personally. Jamal Adams is not the right guy the Seahawks are looking for. And, I mean, it's twofold, right? It's the fact that when he's on the football field, he's a liability. So let's look at Jamal's numbers, according to PFF, and they kind of tell the whole story, right? Solid in pass rush, but can't do anything else. One-trick pony, a problem for this Seattle Seahawks team. I'm done with Jamal Adams. Get out of here. Let's call it a day, count our losses, and move on. Now, another guy on this list, Leonard Williams. I love Leonard Williams. Really liked what I saw from him on this Seahawks team in the second half of this year. But the Seahawks still have some stuff to figure out here. They don't have a ton of cap space. Williams is going to command a decent amount of money. You've already given up a second and a fifth. That's a lot in of itself, right? And if you ultimately say to yourselves, all right, we're going to move on from him after we've already given up that much, that's a loss, because you gave up that much with the idea that you were getting in the postseason, that he was going to help with the playoff push. And you already didn't accomplish that, obviously. The other thing that comes to mind is that whoever the next head coach that comes in, what type of defensive scheme are they going to run? Where does Leonard Williams fit in to that equation? Does that next head coach have a role that suits Leonard Williams to his strengths, to the defense that they are bringing in? We don't know what the defensive scheme is going to be till the head coach is hired. So that's a whole other thing in itself. Leonard Williams last year, 5.5 sacks, 62 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. Really solid. I liked what I saw from Leonard Williams. Would love to see him stay, because that trade, a second and a fifth-round pick, and you look at this draft, you're in a situation where you don't have a second-round pick. You do have 2/3. I would like to think that you didn't waste your time with this pick, that you plan to invest in keeping Leonard Williams long-term. Next on the list, Quandre Diggs, safety spot. I got to tell you, we all like Quandre. Quandre is a great guy. He represents everything about being a member of the Seattle Seahawks, like others before him, of the KJ Wrights to the Bobby Wagners, Cliff, and all those guys. He says all the right things. He does things the right way. And he's what you think of when you think of Seahawks on and off the field, right? But he had a down year this past year, and he isn't getting any younger. And we've seen John Schneider say to some of these guys, hey, we might like you personally. We can be friends, but this isn't working anymore. We're not on the same page. You can't deliver what we need right now. And I'm afraid that unless Quandre Diggs is willing to take a pay cut, that just might be a hard conversation the Seahawks have to have, especially if a new head coach comes in and looks at the numbers from last year and says, 1 interception, 5 pass breakups, and then compared to what he was when he was just a turnover machine years prior to that, and then you take it even a step further and you look at his PFF grades and you say to yourself, what happened here with Quandre Diggs? When I look at the PFF numbers from Diggs, they tell me that nothing went right for Quandre Diggs. Even when you look at Jamal Adams, you say, well, the pass rush grade was great. Nothing looked good for Quandre. And I believe he's better than what he did last year. But you get a new head coach in there, they might be like, oh, time to move on, cut your losses from there. So it's a decision that that the Seahawks might have to just cut their losses from there. We'll see. Folks, who's the player the Seahawks will not bring back in 2024? We're going over a few names. They're kind of on the bubble. What do you guys think? Weigh in the comment section and tell me who you're feeling is not coming back. We're covering this coaching search like no one else is every single day, every damn day here on Seahawks Today. News and rumors, got our live shows on Wednesdays, Q&A mailbags, and more. Keep it locked in. Subscribe now. When the Seahawks have a new head coach, you know we're going to go live on the channel. We're going to have a great time. We're going to party. Subscribe now for free. Stay informed. Stay alert. Last on this list, you knew we were going to talk about this guy, Noah Fant. And I got to say, for Noah Fant's case, this is actually going to work out pretty well one way or the other. Either Noah Fant is going to go to a team that actually uses their tight ends, and Noah Fant's going to see his numbers flourish, or he'll stay in Seattle, and we'll see a new head coach that actually knows how to use tight ends appropriately, and we'll see Noah Fant and his untapped potential. Was never really used properly in this Pete Carroll, Shane Waldron offense. And one of my growing frustrations over the years, and I know a lot of you feel the same way with Pete Carroll, has been not using the tight ends appropriately. And that goes beyond even Shane Waldron. This has been an ongoing theme, coordinator after coordinator, right? And you look at the best teams in football, and what do all of them have in common? They use the tight end position and use it well. Kansas City, of course, with Travis Kelce. San Francisco with George Kittle. Baltimore with Mark Andrews. The list goes on, right? It baffles my mind why Seattle couldn't use Noah Fant and get him more effectively and all these other tight ends in the past, when that's what the game shows us is the way to succeed offensively, is you have to have a tight end you can trust. You look at the numbers from Noah Fant. 32 catches, 414 yards, 12.9 yards a catch, no touchdowns this year. How does he not have a touchdown? That blows my mind. 12 yards per reception, better than what he did. That tells me that he wasn't the problem, that the scheme was the issue. It was the highest yards per catch of his entire career, okay? But it was the lowest total of catches he's had in a single season, the lowest amount of yards he's had in a single season. That's not Noah Fant's fault. That's on coaching. That's the issue. So whoever the next head coach is, it's going to benefit Noah Fant one way or the other, because either he's going to go get an opportunity to prove himself and go make some money elsewhere, or we're going to see him get new life with a new coach that actually gets the tight end involved. If you enjoyed today's show, like the video. Much appreciated. And let's do our part. Send some good vibes. Get this head coach hire right, and we'll see you next time here on Seahawks.